Hello all, it's your friend Anni here, and you are all warmly welcome to today's presentation, How Caffeine Affects Your Body. And this is a series of these little study corners that I will also do. It's your friend Anni here, and you are all warmly... Sorry about that. Sometimes it starts to repeat the voice. So this is the series of these little study corners where I share information about dangers and affects how caffeine affects your body and mind. And if you are complete new to my channel is peer support channel for all the caffeine quitters and everyone who is going through caffeine withdrawal and post-acute withdrawal. And that post-acute withdrawal information is also the very, very big thing that many people doesn't know that is happening, and that is also the one of the most important information that I want to share here in my channel. So I hope you will get something out from this presentation, and the source of this presentation is the book called Caffeine Blues, and this is from the chapter 3. So let's dive deep. And of course, like always, you are warmly welcome to the chat if you have any questions or if you want to share something. So, all right, we're gonna go. So, I just have picked here from the kind of the critical points, and we're gonna study more in this chapter 3 in the upcoming episodes. So we're gonna go a little bit in adenosine receptors because that's the one main issue what caffeine does, and that is based like how it affects our brain and body. So critical point, your adenosine receptors. So caffeine and its breakdown products called methylxanthines. So methylxanthines have multiple effects on the body. One of the first is that they disturb the normal function of the adenosine receptors, which are biochemical control switches found in and this is important because they are not just found in the brain. Those adenosine receptors are found in the brain, kidneys, gastrointestinal tract, cardiovascular system, and respiratory system. So many places are those adenosine receptors found. Hi, Annie. Yes, nice to see you. Oh, well, that is good to rest then. Hope you feel better soon. Okay, so now stay with me here. This sounds complex, but it's important. By the time you finish this page, you'll know more about the biochemistry of coffee than most MDs. And this is also important, while we look at the adenosine. It's like a wrong key in the lock. So have you ever put the wrong key in the lock? It's it fits, but it doesn't open the door. So that's what caffeine does in adenosine receptor. It fits, but it doesn't function. So it doesn't help. So now imagine that you also can't get the key out. So you are stuck and you can't get through the door. You can't get through the door. So likewise, when caffeine blocks an adenosine receptor, an important biochemical message can't reach the cell. And then we are in the problems. The brain's fuse box. In the brain, adenosine slows down neuron activity. So it's really important neurotransmitters. Like, think of it like a fuse box. It prevents your circuits from overloading. When we are in caffeine addiction, those circuits are overloading. And adenosine is there to stop that. It slows down neuron activity. But caffeine blocks that fuse box. So your brain, what happens in the brain circuits? They keep firing. That's not good when you're in addiction because they keep firing and firing and firing. And what happens then? So you feel alert, but it's because your neurons are overstimulated. So you might feel alert and like, oh, okay, I can do this, I can do that. But why you feel like that, this is important to understand, is because your neurons are overstimulated. And like I like to speak about that credit card example. When we use the credit card, first it's fun. You can buy anything, like you can go there and this and that and who knows where. But then there is a cost to that. Same happens with caffeine. Yeah, MD, medical doctor. Yes. Yes. Critical point, the stress response. This is also important thing to understand. So when there is too much this neuron activity, it creates an emergency situation in the brain. Think about what it would look like that there is an emergency situation in the brain. What does all those neurochemicals do? Like, what we have to do? We have to do adaptation, what happens also over the time. But your pituitary glands reacts by releasing a hormone called ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone. And this tells your adrenal glands to pump out stress hormones. And this is the next major effect of caffeine. Stress hormones are elevating. So epinephrine and norepinephrine surge. Why? Those are so difficult words to say. So 2050 milligrams dose of caffeine. So that's about like 2.5 small cups of coffee. What that dose itself can cause. Okay, so epinephrine, adrenaline, levels to rise over 200%. 200% can that epinephrine levels to rise. An increase in norepinephrine, another stress hormone. And these chemicals are what give you. What these chemicals give you. How can you feel those chemicals? This is also very common symptoms in withdrawals. A racing heart, higher blood pressure, a sense of anxiety or emergency. But if you are adapted to caffeine and you're daily using that, these things can just be that people doesn't even know that those are from caffeine, or they ignore them, or they just maybe don't care about them until they quit. Then it can be that the symptoms are there so much on the table that you just cannot ignore those anymore. So this is called a fight or flight response. And with caffeine, that response can be triggered artificially triggered. So what is the anatomy of the fight or flight response? So caffeine can cause a cascade of physical and emotional changes through stress hormones. So this response was once essential for the survival. What was then? What is now? So in prehistoric times, the fight or flight response helped us escape predators. So that maybe made sense then, but today, even though our bodies are the same, the threats have changed. So we have now deadlines in the work, we have traffic, we have lost keys, we have difficult bosses. Some people have difficult bosses, but if you are employed, not working, then you have boss. But anyway, these are just things that everyday life we face. But these aren't life-threatening, but caffeine makes them feel that way. So it lowers your stress threshold. It lowers that. So this makes sense. Things that used to feel manageable, like how you used to could handle things, they become overwhelming. But the thing is that even with this point, if you are in caffeine addiction, you necessarily doesn't think about that, or you don't think that, oh, that's because of caffeine, that's why I feel so overwhelmed with my boss or with my work. Of course, those things happens anyway, but then when you remove caffeine from your life, how it affects you. So wrong brain, wrong time. So the stress activates the limbic system. This is the primitive brain. But the modern problems require the higher brain. So we need to go in that our prefrontal cortex, this higher brain, when we do these decisions. Like we can use the logical thinking, and our creativity is there. Imagination is there. And what is interesting, what I noticed also in my this whole falling off the mountain journey that I went through, meaning really, really long post-acute withdrawals that many people unfortunately have to go through after they quit caffeine. And that is also one thing that I will study later, that it will be interesting if there is any correlation. Why do people fall off the mountain? But I don't know, because that's something that, we don't have information, but there can be some. I have my own thoughts about that and some things why it can be, but that's the topic for another presentation. But definitely that doesn't change anything, that caffeine is a drug. It's a drug, and the poison is a poison. So no matter if you did fall off the mountain or you didn't fall off the mountain, or you do have puffs or don't have puffs, these are the facts that caffeine is doing. So caffeine shuts down those abilities just when we need them most. So chronic emergency mood. So ancient stress was episodic. Tiger appears, you run, then it's over. But today stress is chronic, and caffeine keeps your body in the emergency mood all day long. So when you are caffeinated, emergency mood is there on. So this can cause, and this is what it causes, constant stress hormones release, fat and sugar dumped into your blood but not used. So this is important. So blood diverted from your digestive system, tense muscles. This was something that I had a lot when I was caffeinated, but I didn't never see the correlation. I didn't see that was because of caffeine. I was just always running out the chiropractors and massagers because my muscles was so tense, and I have certain weird neck cramps or back issues, but I didn't know. But then when the withdrawals hit and the post-acute withdrawals hit, my pain was something that went all over the roof. I cannot even tell the pain that I went through. It was just so horrifying and scary, because when your body is in that really high stress, fight or flight mood, and your stress system, the HPA axis, cannot function, probably because your dopamine receptors are downregulated because of caffeine use, and you need that dopamine function and those receptors function and receptor sensitivity, that dopamine can actually work. You need that to be able to handle stress. They are connected. HPA axis and dopamine function are connected, which I didn't know. So that makes sense why people who go through these post-acute withdrawals, they cannot also stand any kind of stress or stimulation, depending how hard did you fall off the mountain. There is also stages of that. Some people do fall off the mountain really hard, like I did, where they go in that state that their nervous system kind of starts to go into reset mood, meaning that in the beginning they cannot deal any stimulation, any stress, not even watching TV, not listening music, not able to talk with people. It can be so severe you cannot leave the house and all that. Those are also, many people are going through that I help daily. So we have to understand this biochemical thing that is going on with the dopamine and all these stress hormones and this HPA axis. So caffeine is not something that it's very underestimated, and in this sense that people doesn't think about that even it's a drug, but it really is. So this is really normal if you have tense muscles for no reason, and also this metabolic and cardiovascular stress is going on. So caffeine impairs digestion. So many people message me, Anni, I have so bad digestive issues on caffeine. Some people message me that they're still on caffeine. They have so bad stomach issues that they would like to stop caffeine because they would hope that that give them release. And I'm sure that it gives for many people. For me, all my digestion issues are gone. And I can tolerate all the foods that I want to eat. So what happens in the withdrawals also when your neurochemistry is out of the whack and while you are going to that homeostasis, you are traveling to that homeostasis while your body is adapting back, you can have all kind of digest issues, constipation, diarrhea, acid reflux, burping, stomach pain, all kind of cramps. This is very normal when your digestive system is also going back to balance. So caffeine definitely worsens digestion, and it's a bigger problem than many people realize. Many people now maybe think, oh, I just have my morning cup of coffee and then I have next and next and next. But this big soda and double espresso with your meal, it's a major cause of, these are the symptoms that pretty much I think every human probably have who drinks coffee or use caffeine, but maybe not thinking of this because, bloating, pain, gas. But then also the poor nutrient absorption is a huge thing, what caffeine does. And these are just visible symptoms. Inside your gut, fermentation and putrefaction produce toxins that, so you have to remember, what you don't see are absorbed into your bloodstream, these toxins, and we know also that caffeine byproducts restore in the body. So that is also something that many people doesn't necessarily know. So increase your risk for gastrointestinal disease. Okay, hey Jaakko, I think caffeine might be part of the problem what I have going on with my neck. It's also a bit of pause. Anni, do you know if benzo withdrawal permanently changes muscles? Sorry, off topic. Yeah, don't worry, Anni. It's a good topic because benzo withdrawal definitely can cause all kind of same things than the caffeine withdrawals. Like the symptoms can be pretty much same. Even benzos affect more in the GABA directly, and caffeine it's affects GABA also, but it's not the connection. It's not like direct. It's more like a it affects, but not so directly. So yeah, Anni, definitely your issues can be still with, I think, from the past, but I wouldn't say that it's a permanent, because I believe even so many benzo withdrawal people who have had really high falling of the mountain journey and they have had withdrawals many years, they have healed completely, with very severe cases, so severe cases that I have followed what comes to benzo withdrawal, and they have healed. So I would be very hopeful if that's from the, it can be also from that. So because I don't just think that it's anything permanent. I think that you are probably still healing, even necessarily you don't, maybe you can be functional and still healing. But of course time will show that, and of course then it also might be with caffeine too, for sure. But just remember that withdrawals and pause can cause all kind of aches, pains, tension, weird feelings in your body, your balance, feeling like these part symptoms that you feel dizzy, disconnected, you have hard to stand up even when you stand up, or even when you stand you can feel dizzy, or when you try to do any physical activity you feel just dizzy, disconnected, or you feel worse of the next few days. That also is telling that your body is still adapting and it cannot take so much of the extra stress or stimulation. So while you are healing, healing depending of the state, how hard you did fall off the mountain and how much you are symptomatic. You have to listen and learn to listen your body during this healing journey, like meaning that if you notice that you are stressing your body too much and then it's kind of ramp up your symptoms, then you can learn like that they take it slow. But it's something that you only kind of learn when you go through it. And of course, the many people, like for me, example, I couldn't deal any kind of stress. So it was just, time. Good old time is what really heals you. There is no pretty much anything that you can do but ride with the waves and of course try to eat healthy and drink a lot of water. But I always want to point that out, at that time is what does the thing. So you don't have to be scared that you will be permanently ill or damaged. You won't be. This is a temporary state and people do heal with time. For some people, unfortunately, it takes a long time. And that is also the information that is really, really important to put out there, because so many people, they don't have, like, they go meds, they run around to doctor, they do all these CAT scans, MRIs, whatever, doctor doesn't find anything, and then doctors give them the pills. And the pills will make it worse because the pills affect your neurochemistry. So the paths are really going away with time and you heal and you're gonna be even better than before because those neurochemistry is like back to balance, like how you supposed to be, and your nervous system is stronger, and with time you are able to deal even more stress. So that's why I always say that patience is the key in that, so you cannot start to play with the drugs. Unfortunately, even many doctors put people in benzos while they are caffeine withdrawals or SSRIs, and then the doctors can even tell, no, that's not gonna affect you. Yeah, it is affecting you. Benzos are hell of a drugs also, and SSRIs are affecting. And all the drugs, if you ask me, all the drugs. But then, of course, if somebody is like, let's say that there is some case that is really suicidal in this journey, like really, so if there would be some medication, if could stop that person to not do the suicide, of course, I always say that then go to the doctor if you have to. But even those suicidal thoughts, they are really normal in this. The horror, terror, the fear are normal in the beginning stages, but that will pass. And I have a Discord group, by the way, which I link below this if you are new and just watch this presentation. And if you are going through this after quitting caffeine and you maybe did cold turkey and you don't know what is happening to you and you did end up this falling off the mountain journey, there I have these daily support chats where I help people go through these acute withdrawals and pause. So you are warmly welcome to there. If you want to chat, or if you cannot chat or talk, you can just come there in the lobby and listen what others are talking, and then you can message me in that message box. So you got this, guys. No worries. Okay, let's see the chat. Jaakko is there, but Annie says, doctors offered me benzos yesterday to ease up my muscles. I was so happy to tell her no and inform about my journey. She really wanted to help, so I'm not mad at her. I think cold AC also this. Yes, Annie. And it's really also, I think the more people, like you told about doctor, it's really good that doctor would have this information, because many doctors, they really try to help. And that's why it's so important that we have this information, and if you go through your own journey, that you could somehow share this journey, because the more this information goes out there and it goes to the doctors and psychiatric like field, it's really important, because those are the the professionals that are facing with people with these things. Okay, but we did go a little bit in the side track, but it's okay. We are here to give the peer support. So okay, so we're gonna go move on. So as one experts say there is no reason to digest your breakfast if you're about to become a lunch. So then caffeine's icy grip. Ever notice cold hands after drinking coffee? That vascular resistance caffeine causes your blood vessel to constrict. This is helpful in an actual emergency. You'd bleed less if injured, but if you are just sitting at breakfast, it raises blood pressure, increases strokes and heart attack risk, slows oxygen and nutrient delivery to cells. Okay, so then brain starvation. So it's reduced blood flows. What does it mean? What does it mean when this happens? You have less oxygen to the brain and less waste removed from the cells and constricted blood vessels in the brain. So that's what it does. And at the same time, caffeine increases brain activity, creating a condition called relative brain hyperfusion. The brain is, so this is something that you may see if you are a caffeine user. The brain is working harder, you can do your tasks, but is getting less full. So when you repeat that every day, all day long, every day, I want to mention that you also get adapted, addicted, and dependent, but the consequences can be serious. Okay, so critical point, cortisol, the long burn. Sometimes I get questions about, Anni, why I feel this high cortisol all the time. I just feel that my stress is up the roof and I cannot do anything. So let's look at this. So caffeine raises more than just adrenaline. It also elevates cortisol, another stress hormone. So adrenaline is something that you may feel, like the heart pulps and stuff, but if you have a high cortisol for long term, you don't necessarily, when you are in addiction or under any kind of high stress, you can even adapt to that without kind of knowing that, because also the high cortisol and caffeine can change your personality over time, but that can just take time, so necessarily you don't even notice that. So unlike adrenaline, cortisol stays in your system much longer. If you consume more than 300 milligrams of caffeine per day, your cortisol levels can remain high for 18 out of 24 hours. So think about, like I was over 1,000 milligrams a day every day, so you can count on that how healthy it is. But anyway, so even a small amount affects your cortisol levels and raises them. So what is this meaning? This leads to poor sleep. Poor sleep is very common what caffeine causes, of course. A weakened immune system and faster aging. So subtle but serious changes in the mind, mood and behavior. So you can become just groggy and angry and irritated and moody and cranky-panky and behave a little bit like wildly. You act before you think and stuff like that. So the cloud lifts. People often don't realize how much caffeine affects them until they quit or until they fall off the mountain and end up this severe roller coaster ride that I did. That's one way to end up quitting caffeine. Like, I don't recommend that. Tapering slow is safer way to go. But unfortunately, some of us, we did have to learn this hard way. Like, we just did, our body just say no more, and then we did go in this reset move, and you know, where you go in that reset move, you don't really have any other opportunity than survive. Same with the benzos, same with even alcohol for some. Like, this is also important to remember that benzos also cause withdrawals and pause if you quit them. Not for everyone, but for many. And alcohol can cause pause. Even weed can cause pause, and then also other kind of psychiatric medications too. But definitely caffeine is so underestimated that's why this information needed to be out there. So one former coffee drinker said, it's like a cloud lifted from my body and mind, and I had no idea I was so angry and frustrated. Why? Because cortisol changes personality. There it goes. So cortisol can change your personality over time. And even if you wouldn't have fall of the mountain, meaning that you don't have that severe stress, high anxiety, nervous system rewiring thing happening, the most common caffeine withdrawal symptoms, if you have been on the drug quite some time, not even long time, you have to be that you are still get addicted and adapted, are low mood, low energy, just feeling low libido, no motivation, tiredness. So even if you don't have a much symptoms, those are really common caffeine withdrawal symptoms. And like the mainstream media says, 2 weeks, caffeine withdrawal, 2 weeks, that's a complete bullshit for most of the people. It's not 2 weeks. And those people who go through pause and they fall off the mountain, it's months or years. And that's not rare. So, critical point 5, your dopamine levels. And this is the topic that I could speak all day long. Dopamine, because it's so huge issue in this journey. So, new research shows caffeine is not just addictive, it can promote other addictions like to nicotine. Okay, this is also an interesting point, and I truly believe that it's like that caffeine is a gay drug. Many people, well, okay, there is already, I have noticed that there is correlation from caffeine addiction and porn, based what people have told me, that many people who have caffeine addiction, they also say that they have porn addiction. So they also, some of have said that while they have been quitting caffeine, they have been able to quit porn too. So just remember this, that this high stress state, when you are caffeinated, it can make you crave alcohol, other stimulating stuff, porn, whatever, like gambling, shopping addiction. It's a huge one for women. I had a little bit that shopping addiction when I was caffeinated. And also, this was interesting also in the withdrawals, because, you know, when your brain is craving that dopamine and you are just like all over the place. I remember I was just like in online shopping clothes, like watching some I wanna buy this dress and I wanna buy this, and even I didn't really have money, but you know, when your brain is just craving that dopamine while you are healing, it just makes sense that you can crave junk food or whatever before your system balance out. So don't be too hard on yourself while you are healing. If you eat a little bit sugar, even of course sugar is a stimulant, so I recommend to stay away from that. But let's say that if you are in the beginning state, and then it's all about surviving, staying alive, that you don't do suicide basically. Don't be hard, don't think about exercise and stuff in that state. It's just going through the days. So if the little bit sugar helps you going through the days, or talking with Anni helps you going through the days, or whatever helps you going through the days, you are doing amazing job. You exist, you are alive, you are doing amazing job. So forget about those naysayers and people who doesn't understand this falling off the mountain thing and this reset and nervous system reset. Don't go in that drain, because like you have to have this information, so then you understand what is going on. So the new research shows caffeine is not just addictive. It can, like we say, it can promote other addictions like to nicotine. The common link, dopamine. How dopamine works? Okay, so dopamine is a neurotransmitter. It helps neurons talk to each other. Think about that. But it also controls your mood, motivation, which can be so much lost in this journey, and it's normal. I was waiting so much when my motivation come back, and now I have motivation all the time, which is really cool. And I think this is the Anni that I'm supposed to be. And this dopamine thing is also interesting because, you know, I have thought that maybe for some of us, for example, if we have some kind of adaptation to that low dopamine already because of the, let's say, childhood or trauma, or then maybe our neurogenetics was just like that, because of some genetic reason, that meaning that maybe we have that lower dopamine functioning. And this is just like one theory also. Let's say that you have from the childhood you have this natural ADHD, meaning that your brain is constantly trying to get some kind of stimulation. Like I think I had that from the natural, from my environment and how I was grown up. So that just makes sense that why some of us, we are just searching something to, you know, some kind of stimulants. And that can also be one of the explanation why some people go so much more in the stimulants than others. I don't know, there can be some correlation or things like that, but I also have been sometimes thinking that maybe it's because I was just constantly finding something to feel more good, if that makes sense. But that of course can be individual. Maybe some people don't have that urge so much. So there can be so many different factors why some people end up using so much more stimulants than others. But also remember that addiction is addiction. So even if that would be like, okay, let's say that some people who have had really like traumatic childhood or stuff like that, and then they go into drugs. So in sense, those drugs kind of help them cope these things that are really causing them pain for a certain amount of time. But then it becomes problems because you adapt, and in the long term it doesn't help. But there is also kind of two sides of the coins when we look at these things, that why some people are like maybe more, you know, more going to the certain things. But these are just my thoughts. You can comment below the video if maybe you have that natural ADHD when you was a child and you were chasing stimulants or whatever. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. But anyway, caffeine is bad, it's a drug and it's a poison, and that's where we always stay in this. So mood, motivation, pleasure. So substances like amphetamines increase dopamine release, of course. Caffeine is in this same family. So cocaine blocks dopamine reuptake, and caffeine also raises dopamine levels in a way that mimics amphetamines. It mimics that. So the addiction continuum. So in 1997, Time magazine reported that caffeine may trigger dopamine, but that's outdated. So we know now. Now we know. So caffeine definitely raises dopamine. It activates the same brain circuits as many dangerous drugs. Well, Anni says here that it is a dangerous drug. Like many it's always, sometimes it's like a mainstream. She's like, yeah, there is dangerous drugs and then there's caffeine. But I put there's a caffeine is there in the dangerous drug. Okay, so it also interacts with opiate receptors. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And you can have hell of a lot of pain when you quit, making it even more addictive. But coffee isn't cocaine. This is people saying, yeah, it's not like cocaine. Yeah, that's true. It's not cocaine. But all addictions use the same brain pathways. Just because coffee is mildly addictive doesn't mean it's harmless. Mildly addictive. It's not mildly addictive. It's hell of addictive. And it's a plant pesticide. Makes sense. It's plant make caffeine to paralyze those bugs. It's paralyze your nerves. It's a nervous system stimulant. It's a nerve poison. Like, okay, I'm a little bit too excited today, but that's good. That's good. It's just motivation. In fact, coffee drinkers often don't chase high they drink it, just avoid the withdrawals. This is common if you are caffeine addict. You need to have your daily dose of caffeine, because otherwise you get headaches, you get fatigue, you get irritability, you get depressed. The bottom line, caffeine is consumed daily by nearly 2,000 million Americans. And how many Finnish? Pretty much everyone. Pretty much everyone. I don't know. Tell me if you have never. Tell me, hey, by the way, if there is some Finnish viewers, and you have never used any kind of caffeine, no chocolate, no any kind of teas, colas, kombuchas, coffees, Nothing. I would like to know, because I think that's just really rare. But anyway, so it's a most common use drug. Its harmful effects are well documented. Okay, they are well documented, but not in the mainstream. So widely ignored. Definitely widely ignored. So we're gonna end this presentation for this sentence that it is time to wake up, not with the coffee, not with the coffee, but with the truth. Okay, good. So I'm sorry if this presentation was a little bit, we did go over the topic and we did go, it was a little bit rambling. That's something that I do sometimes. But I just love to share this information, and I think it's good to share this personal output also, that what I'm seeing while I'm helping people, because that is that citizen science that I'm just so grateful to able to see, because what happened to me, and now I can help others. So I hope you did get something out this presentation, and now if you have any questions, you can put that in the chat. Okay. Yes, thank you, Anni. It is temporary, definitely temporary, and that is the best hope in this. You have the info, what benzos do, what caffeine do, what alcohol do, what drugs do, but withdrawals, thank for God, they are temporary, pause are temporary, and you go back to living your life. What is your kind of life? And I think that there is if I think my own self, that I'm now pretty much there in the balanced state, even I'm still improving, but my anxiety part is definitely done. I did have go through 5 years journey of that. I have no single anxiety, but I think I'm just like naturally like, what is that? Excited person, like naturally excited. Like I enjoy the exercise, I enjoy the nature, and when you quit stimulants and drugs, then you just gonna have to find those natural things that make you feel good. Like for me, for example, it's exercise, going out to nature, going fishing, being with my dog, or I can just riding, whatever. Like there's so many natural things that you can find to make you feel good, kind of. You just have to find what are yours, natural dose of daily dopamine, if that makes sense. What Jaakko said, it is a mind-blowing that the mainstream media doesn't talk about this. Yep. And I think it's same with the jabs. Like we know with the jabs, vaccines, it's the same. Like mainstream media is something that don't trust that. Trust the information that you find here, and read the Caffeine Blues. Do your own study. Always do your own study. Don't trust that some kind of new news, like daily news, what you're watching, or if you're watching some kind of reading some kind of daily magazines. Those doesn't tell anything about truth. So always use your own brain, and like I always say, you can always try to quit, and remember, tapering slowly is safest way to go, and some people, they don't end up having pause. And then of course, if you did quit and you don't end up having a lot of withdrawals, or if your withdrawals are just milder, don't go back to caffeine, because I promise that that won't help anything. But okay, now have a good day, guys, and see you in my Discord. Be there and have a nice day. Bye.